My name is Rosa Delgado. I'm 63 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you think you know about family loyalty. 3 weeks ago, my own daughter, Carmen, stood in my kitchen, slammed her manicure fist on the table I've owned for 30 years, and screamed at me, "Sign over the house or else, Mom. I'm not asking anymore." But what Carmen didn't know, what she couldn't have possibly imagined, was that I had already changed the deed 6 months earlier. And the person I transferred it to? Well, that's going to shock you even more than it shocked her.
Let me start from the beginning, because this story isn't just about greed. It's about a mother's love being twisted into a weapon, and how sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones we die to protect. I came to this country when I was 19 years old, with nothing but a suitcase full of dreams and my grandmother's rosary wrapped around my wrist. My husband Miguel and I worked 3 jobs each. He cleaned office buildings at night, while I scrubbed floors at the hospital during the day, and we both worked weekends at the local restaurant. Every penny we saved went toward one goal: buying our own piece of the American dream. It took us 12 years. 12 years of eating beans and rice for dinner, of wearing the same 3 dresses to church, of walking everywhere because we couldn't afford the car. But in 1992, we finally had enough for a down payment on a small 2-bedroom house on Maple Street. I still remember the day we got the keys. Miguel lifted me up and spun me around in the front yard while our neighbors watched and smiled. "Mija," he whispered in my ear, "we did it. We actually did it." That house became everything to us. It's where we brought Carmen home from the hospital when she was born. It's where we celebrated her first steps, her first words, her quinceañera. It's where Miguel taught her to ride a bike in the driveway, where I braided her hair every morning before school, where we hosted family barbecues every Sunday after Mass. When Miguel died of a heart attack 7 years ago, I thought about selling. The house felt too big, too quiet, too full of memories that made me cry every time I walked past his favorite chair. But Carmen begged me not to. "Mom, this is our family home," she said, holding my hands while tears streamed down both our faces. "This is where Dad's spirit lives. We can't let strangers have it." So I stayed. I kept working at the hospital until I retired 3 years ago, and I used my savings to pay off the mortgage completely. The house was mine, free and clear, a testament to 30 years of sacrifice and love. But somewhere along the way, Carmen changed. It started small. She'd make comments about how I was wasting space living alone in a 2-bedroom house, how I was getting older and might need help managing my finances, how it would be smarter for her to handle my affairs since she worked in real estate and understood these things better. Carmen had always been ambitious. Even as a little girl, she wanted the prettiest dresses, the newest toys, the biggest birthday parties. Miguel and I worked extra hours to give her what we could, but we also taught her the value of hard work and gratitude. Or, at least, we tried to. After high school, she got her real estate license and married David, a man who made good money but spent even better money.
They lived in a fancy apartment across town, drove expensive cars, and took vacations to places I couldn't even pronounce. Carmen would show me pictures on her phone, beaches in Cancun, restaurants in New York, shopping trips to Los Angeles, and I'd smile and tell her how proud I was, even though something in her eyes had grown cold. The first real warning sign came 2 years ago during Christmas dinner. Carmen was showing off her new diamond earrings when she casually mentioned that David's business was going through a rough patch. "What kind of rough patch?" I asked, serving her another helping of tamales. "Oh, you know, Mom, the economy, competition, nothing we can't handle." But her smile was too bright, too forced. "Actually, we've been thinking it might be smart to consolidate some assets, for tax purposes." I didn't understand what she meant then, but I do now. Over the next year, the visits became more frequent, but they weren't social calls anymore. Carmen would arrive with papers for me to sign, claiming they were just updates to my will or simple forms to make sure I was protected. She'd spread them across my kitchen table with that same bright smile and say, "Don't worry about reading all the fine print, Mom. I've already reviewed everything with David's lawyer." But I've never been stupid, despite what my daughter apparently thought. I may not have gone to college, but I learned to read contracts when Miguel and I bought this house. I learned to ask questions when something didn't feel right. And these papers, they definitely didn't feel right. The first set of documents was a power of attorney that would give Carmen complete control over my finances. The second was a quitclaim deed that would transfer ownership of my house to her for estate planning purposes. The third was a form that would make her the sole beneficiary of my life insurance policy, cutting out my sister Elena and my nephew Roberto completely. "Carmen," I said, pushing the papers back across the table, "I need time to think about this. Maybe I should have my own lawyer look at these." Her smile faltered for just a moment. "Mom, that's going to cost money you don't need to spend. I'm your daughter. Don't you trust me?" The question hung in the air like smoke from a candle that had just been blown out. Of course I trusted her. She was my baby, my only child, the person I sacrificed everything for. But trust and wisdom aren't the same thing, and something deep in my gut was screaming that this was wrong. "I just want to understand what I'm signing," I said gently. Carmen's face hardened. "Fine, but don't take too long, Mom. These things are time sensitive." That night, I called my sister Elena. She lives in Phoenix now, but we talk every week, and she's always been the practical one in our family. "Rosa," she said after I explained the situation, "you need to get your own lawyer today. Don't sign anything until you do." "But what if Carmen's right? What if I'm just being paranoid?" "Mija, listen to me. I've seen this before. My friend Maria went through the same thing with her son. He convinced her to sign over her house temporarily for tax reasons. 6 months later, she was living in a studio apartment while he sold her home and kept the money." Elena's words hit me like a slap. Could Carmen really be planning something like that? Could my own daughter, the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, be trying to steal my home? The next day, I made an appointment with a lawyer named James Morrison. His office was small and cluttered, nothing like the fancy firms Carmen probably used, but his eyes were kind and he listened without judgment as I explained my situation. "Mrs. Delgado, I need to be very direct with you. If you sign these documents, Your daughter will have complete legal control over your house, your money, and your medical decisions. You would essentially be signing away your independence. My hands started shaking, but she said it was just for estate planning. That's what they all say. His voice was gentle but firm. Mrs. Delgado, in my 30 years of practice, I've seen this scenario dozens of times. Adult children convince their parents to sign over assets for their own good, and then the parents find themselves with nowhere to live and no money to live on. I felt sick. What should I do? First, don't sign anything. Second, we need to protect your assets before this goes any further. I'm going to recommend something that might sound extreme, but I think it's necessary.
He explained the strategy that would legally protect my house while still allowing me to live in it for the rest of my life. It involved transferring the deed to someone I trusted completely, someone who would never try to take advantage of me or kick me out of my own home. The person you choose needs to be someone with unquestionable integrity, he said. Someone who loves you unconditionally and would never betray that trust. I knew immediately who that person was. Roberto, my nephew, was Elena's son and the closest thing to a grandson I'd ever had. When his father abandoned the family when Roberto was 8, Miguel and I helped Elena raise him. He spent every summer at our house, and Miguel taught him everything he knew about fixing cars and being a good man. Roberto was now 35 years old, married to a wonderful woman named Sofia, and working as a teacher at the local elementary school. More importantly, Roberto had never asked me for anything. Not money, not favors, not help with his problems. When I offered to help with his wedding expenses, he politely declined. When I tried to give him money for his first house, he hugged me and said, "Tia Rosa, you've already given me everything I need. Save your money for yourself." That's how I knew I could trust him. I called Roberto that evening and explained the situation. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. "Tia Rosa," he finally said, his voice tight with anger, "Carmen is trying to steal your house?" "I don't know for sure, mijo, but I'm scared." "Don't be scared. We're going to protect you. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it." 2 weeks later, I met with Mr. Morrison again. This time, Roberto came with me, along with his wife, Sofia. We signed papers that transferred the deed of my house to Roberto, with the legal understanding that I would live there for the rest of my life and that the house would return to my estate when I died. "This protects you from anyone trying to force you to sell or sign over your property," Mr. Morrison explained. "Even if someone gets power of attorney over your finances, they can't touch the house because you don't legally own it anymore." It felt strange, signing away ownership of the home Miguel and I had worked so hard for, but I knew it was the right thing to do. Roberto hugged me after we finished the paperwork. "Tia, I promise you this house will always be your home. Always." I believed him. More than that, I trusted him with my life. For the next few months, I didn't tell Carmen what I'd done. I kept hoping that maybe I'd been wrong about her intentions, that maybe she really was just trying to help me plan for the future. But those hopes died completely 3 weeks ago. Carmen arrived at my house on Tuesday afternoon without calling first. She was dressed in an expensive business suit and carrying a leather briefcase that probably cost more than I spent on groceries in a month. But it wasn't her clothes that worried me. It was her expression. Cold, determined, and completely without warmth. "Mom, we need to talk." "Of course, mija. Let me make some coffee." "I don't have time for coffee." She opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick stack of papers. I need you to sign these today. I looked at the documents. They were the same ones she'd brought months earlier, plus some new ones I didn't recognize. Carmen, I told you I wanted to have my own lawyer review these. Her face flushed red. Mom, I don't have time for your paranoia anymore. David's business is in serious trouble. We're going to lose everything if we don't act fast. What does that have to do with my house? We need to use it as collateral for a loan. It's temporary, just until we get back on our feet. My heart sank. There it was, the truth I'd been dreading. Carmen didn't want to help me plan my estate. She wanted to use my house to save her husband's failing business. Carmen, this house is all I have. If something goes wrong with David's business, I could lose my home. Nothing's going to go wrong, she snapped. God, Mom, why can't you just trust me? After everything I've done for you, after all the times I've helped you, this is how you repay me? What have you done for me? The words came out sharper than I intended, but I was tired of pretending. Carmen's face widened in shock. What have I done for you? I visit you every week. I help you with your bills. I make sure you're not being taken advantage of by contractors or salespeople. You visit me when you need something. You help with my bills by trying to get me to sign them over to you. And the only person trying to take advantage of me right now is standing in my living room. The words hung between us like a wall. Carmen's face went through a series of expressions: shock, hurt, and finally, rage. Fine, she said, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. David owes some very serious people a lot of money. If we don't pay them back soon, we're going to lose more than just our house. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understood perfectly. She was threatening me. Carmen, I'm not going to risk my home to pay your husband's gambling debts. They're not gambling debts, she screamed. They're business investments that went bad. And if you don't help us, we're going to lose everything. Is that what you want? Do you want to see your only daughter living on the street? I want to see my daughter get a job and work for what she needs, like your father and I did. Carmen laughed, but there was no humor in it. Work? Mom, I'm 42 years old. I'm not going to start over from nothing because you're too selfish to help your own family. Selfish? The word hit me like a physical blow. I worked 3 jobs to buy this house. I sacrificed everything to give you a good life. I've never asked you for anything, and now I'm selfish because I won't let you gamble away my home? You're being dramatic. It's not gambling. It's a business loan. Using my house as collateral without my permission? Carmen's mask finally slipped completely. Your permission? Mom, let's be real here. You're 63 years old, living alone, in a house that's way too big for you. You don't drive at night anymore. You forget to pay bills sometimes. How long do you think it's going to be before you can take care of yourself? Each word was designed to hurt, to make me feel small and helpless and dependent on her mercy. And when that happens, who do you think is going to take care of you? Elena? She lives in Phoenix. Roberto? He's got his own family to worry about. It's going to be me, Mom. It's always going to be me. So maybe you should start thinking about what's best for both of us. I stared at my daughter. This woman I'd raised, loved, and sacrificed for, and realized I was looking at a stranger.
The little girl who used to bring me dandelions from the yard and tell me I was the best mommy in the world was gone. In her place stood someone who saw me as nothing more than an obstacle to her financial security. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my house. Now. Carmen's face twisted with fury. Fine, but I'm not giving up, Mom. This house is going to be mine eventually anyway. I'm your only heir, so you can make this easy or you can make it hard. But either way, I'm going to get what's mine. She grabbed her briefcase and stormed toward the door, then turned back one more time. You've got 1 week to think about it. After that, I'm going to start exploring other options, and trust me, you won't like those options. The door slammed behind me, and I collapsed into Miguel's old chair, shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. That night, I called Roberto and told him everything. Tia Rosa, I'm coming over right now. No, mijo, it's late. Come tomorrow. Are you sure you're safe? Should I call the police? She's not going to hurt me physically. But Roberto, I think she's going to try to have me declared incompetent or something. She kept talking about how I forget to pay bills and can't drive at night. Do you forget to pay bills? Sometimes I'm a day or two late, but I always pay them. And I don't drive at night because I don't like driving in the dark, not because I can't. Tia, we need to document everything, every conversation, every threat, every lie. If Carmen tries to challenge your mental competency, we need to be ready. The next day, Roberto came over with Sofia and their 2 children, my great-niece and great-nephew. We spent the afternoon in my backyard, the kids playing on the swing set Miguel had built 20 years ago, while the adults talked strategy. The good news is that the house is protected, Roberto said. Even if Carmen somehow gets power of attorney over your other assets, she can't touch the house because it's not legally yours anymore. But what if she finds out what we did? What if she tries to challenge the transfer? She can try, but it won't work. We have documentation showing that you were mentally competent when you made the decision. And we have witnesses. Plus, the transfer was made months before she started pressuring you, so it can't be seen as a reaction to her threats. Sofia, who worked as a paralegal, also added, we should also consider getting you a medical evaluation to document your mental competence. If Carmen tries to claim you're not capable of making your own decisions, we'll have recent medical evidence to the contrary.
Over the next week, I followed their advice. I saw my doctor for a complete physical and mental health evaluation. I organized all my financial records to show that I was managing my money responsibly. I even started keeping a journal, documenting every phone call and interaction with Carmen. She called me every day that week, alternating between sweet manipulation and barely veiled threats. Mom, I've been thinking about our conversation, and I realize I came on too strong. I'm just so worried about you living alone in that big house. Carmen, I'm fine. I've been living alone for 7 years. But what if you fall? What if you have a medical emergency? I just think it would be safer if you moved somewhere with more support. Like where? Well, there are some lovely senior communities. You'd have your own apartment, but there would be people around to help if you needed anything. And what would happen to my house? A pause. Well, we'd have to sell it to pay for the community. But, Mom, think about how much easier your life would be. Easier for whom? I wondered.
By Friday, her patience was wearing thin. "Mom, I need an answer. David's creditors are getting impatient." "Carmen, I'm not signing over my house. That's my final answer." "Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you." Saturday morning, I was watering my roses when a car pulled up in front of my house. Carmen got out, followed by David and a man I didn't recognize. They walked up my driveway like they owned the place. "Mom, this is Mr. Peterson. He's a social worker who specializes in elder care." My blood ran cold. This was it, the other option Carmen had threatened me with. "Mrs. Delgado, your daughter has expressed some concerns about your ability to live independently. I'm here to do a wellness check." "I don't need a wellness check. I'm perfectly fine." "Of course you are," Carmen said, with that fake smile. "We just want to make sure you're getting all the support you need." They pushed their way into my house, and Mr. Peterson started asking questions. Was I taking my medications properly? Was I eating regular meals? Did I ever feel confused or disoriented? Had I been paying my bills on time? I answered every question calmly and honestly, but I could see Carmen whispering to him, pointing out things like the stack of mail on my kitchen counter, which included bills I'd already paid but hadn't filed yet, and the fact that I had 3 different bottles of vitamins on my windowsill, which she claimed showed I was confused about my medications. "Mrs. Delgado," Mr. Peterson said finally, "your daughter is concerned that you might benefit from some additional support. There are programs available to help seniors manage their finances and health care decisions." "What kind of programs?" Carmen jumped in. "They can help you organize your bills, make sure you don't miss any payments, even help you make important decisions about your living situation." "And who would be in charge of these programs?" "Well, typically a family member serves as the primary contact and decision maker." I looked at Carmen, who was trying very hard to look concerned rather than triumphant. "Mr. Peterson, I appreciate your concern, but I don't need help managing my affairs. I've been taking care of myself for 63 years. "Mom, don't be stubborn. This is for your own good." "No, Carmen, this is for your good. You want to have me declared incompetent so you can take control of my house and use it to pay David's debts." Mr. Peterson looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Delgado, that's a very serious accusation." "It's also true. My daughter has been pressuring me for months to sign over my house. When I refused, she threatened me. Now she's trying to use the system to get what she wants." "That's not true," Carmen protested. "I'm trying to protect you." "From what? From living in my own home? From making my own decisions? From having control over the property I worked 30 years to pay for?" David, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. "Mrs. Delgado, you don't understand the situation here. We're in real trouble here. If we don't get help soon, some very bad people are going to come looking for their money."
Then maybe you should have thought about that before you borrowed money you couldn't pay back. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. The business was supposed to take off. We were going to pay everyone back and still have money left over. But it didn't work out that way, did it? And now you want me to risk my home to fix your mistakes? Carmen's face was getting redder by the minute. "Mom, why are you being so selfish? This is your family. We're supposed to help each other." "Help goes both ways, Carmen. When have you ever helped me? When have you ever asked what I needed or wanted? You only come here when you need something. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you called just to see how I was doing? When was the last time you brought the grandchildren to visit? When was the last time you remembered my birthday without me having to remind you? Carmen opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. We both knew the truth. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. Mrs. Delgado, I've observed your interaction with your daughter, and I've assessed your living situation. Based on what I've seen today, I don't believe you require any additional support services at this time. Carmen's face went white. What? But she's clearly not thinking rationally. She's putting her own comfort ahead of her family's safety. Ma'am, your mother has the right to make her own decisions about her property and her living situation, as long as she's mentally competent. And from what I can see, she's very competent. After they left, I sat in my kitchen and cried. Not from sadness, but from relief. I had won this battle, but I knew the war wasn't over. That evening, Roberto called. Tia, how did it go with the social worker? I told her everything, and he was quiet for a long time. She's not going to give up, he said finally. I know. What do you want to do? I thought about it for a moment. I want her to know the truth. I want her to know that her threats and manipulation have been pointless from the beginning. Are you sure? Once you tell her about the deed transfer, there's no going back. She's going to be furious. Good. Maybe it's time she learned that actions have consequences. The next day was Sunday. Carmen always came for Sunday dinner, not because she enjoyed spending time with me, but because it was a tradition she felt obligated to maintain. I spent the morning cooking her favorite meal, mole poblano, with rice and beans, fresh tortillas, and flan for dessert. She arrived at 2 o'clock, with David and the kids. For a moment, watching my grandchildren run into my arms, I almost lost my resolve. These innocent babies didn't deserve to be caught in the middle of their mother's greed. But then I saw Carmen's expression, calculating, impatient, already planning her next move, and I remembered why I was doing this. We ate dinner mostly in silence. Carmen kept checking her phone. David looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, and the children sensed the tension, even if they didn't understand it. After dessert, Carmen sent the kids outside to play and turned to me with that familiar fake smile. Mom, I've been thinking about yesterday, and I realize we got off on the wrong foot. I don't want to fight with you. You're my mother, and I love you. I love you too, Carmen. So let's figure this out together. What would it take for you to feel comfortable helping us? I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and tried to find some trace of the little girl I'd raised, but all I saw was a woman who had learned to use love as a weapon. Carmen, there's something I need to tell you. Okay. 6 months ago, I transferred the deed to this house to Roberto. The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the children laughing in the backyard. What? Carmen's voice was barely a whisper. I legally transferred ownership of this house to your cousin, Roberto. I have a life estate, which means I can live here until I die, but I don't own the property anymore. Carmen's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, and finally rage. You did what? I protected my home from people who might try to take advantage of me. You gave away my inheritance to Roberto. Her voice was getting louder with each word. I gave my house to someone I trust. Someone who has never asked me for anything, never threatened me, never tried to manipulate me. David leaned forward. Mrs. Delgado, you can't be serious. We're your family. No, David. You're the people who married into my family and then tried to steal from me. Carmen stood up so fast her chair fell over. This is insane. You can't just give away our children's inheritance. It's not your children's inheritance, Carmen. It's my house, and I can do whatever I want with it. But Roberto, really? He's not even your son. No, he's not. But he's been more of a son to me in the last 6 months than you've been a daughter in the last 6 years. Carmen started pacing around my kitchen like a caged animal. This is all Elena's doing, isn't it? She's been poisoning you against me. Elena didn't even know about the deed transfer until after it was done. This was my decision based on your behavior. My behavior? I've been trying to help you. You've been trying to help yourself. There's a difference. David was frantically typing on his phone. There has to be a way to challenge this if she was coerced or if she wasn't mentally competent when she signed. I wasn't coerced, and I was completely competent. I have medical records and witnesses to prove it. Carmen whirled around to face me. How could you do this to me? I'm your daughter. And I'm your mother. But that doesn't give you the right to steal from me. I wasn't stealing. I was trying to save our family. By risking my home? By threatening to have me declared incompetent? By bringing a social worker here to intimidate me? Carmen's face crumpled, and for a moment she looked like the little girl who used to cry when she scraped her knee. Mom, please. We're desperate. If we don't pay these people back, they're going to hurt David. Maybe hurt all of us. Then you should have thought about that before you got involved with dangerous people. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The business was supposed to work. We were going to be rich, and we were going to take care of you, and everything was going to be perfect. Carmen, life isn't perfect. Your father and I learned that a long time ago. But we also learned that you don't solve your problems by creating problems for other people. She collapsed back into her chair, sobbing. What are we going to do? How are we going to pay them back? You're going to do what your father and I did when we had problems. You're going to work. You're going to sacrifice. You're going to find a way that doesn't involve stealing from your family. But it's too much money. We'll never be able to pay it back working normal jobs. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you borrowed it. David stood up. Carmen, we need to go. We need to figure out our next move. There is no next move, I said firmly. The house is protected. Even if something happens to me, it goes to Roberto, not to you. Your threats and manipulation have been pointless from the beginning. Carmen looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure hatred. You've destroyed our family. No, Carmen. You did that when you decided money was more important than love. They gathered up the children and left without another word. I watched from my window as they drove away, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. That evening, Roberto called to check on me. How did she take it? About as well as you'd expect. She's furious. Are you okay? I'm sad, mijo. But I'm also relieved. For the first time in months, I don't have to worry about someone trying to steal my home. Dia, I want you to know something. This house will always be yours. Always. And when you're gone, I'm going to make sure it stays in the family. The real family. The people who love you for who you are, not what you have. I know, Roberto. That's why I chose you.
It's been 3 weeks since that Sunday dinner, and I haven't heard from Carmen. Part of me hopes she'll call to apologize, to tell me she's found another way to solve her problems, to ask if we can rebuild our relationship. But a bigger part of me knows that's not going to happen. Yesterday, Elena called to tell me that Carmen had been asking her questions about the deed transfer, whether it could be challenged, whether I had been manipulated into signing it, whether there was any way to reverse it. What did you tell her? I told her the truth, that you're the smartest woman I know, that you made a decision to protect yourself, and that she should be ashamed of herself for driving you to that point. How did she react? She hung up on me. I'm not surprised. Carmen has never been good at accepting responsibility for her actions. This morning, I was working in my garden when my neighbor Mrs. Chen came over to chat. She's lived next door for 15 years, and she's watched my whole family drama unfold. Rosa, she said, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I think you did the right thing. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. I've seen what happened to other people in our neighborhood. Their children pressure them to sell their houses, promise to take care of them, and then abandon them in nursing homes while they spend the money. At least you know Roberto will never do that to you. She's right. Roberto calls me every day, not to ask for anything, but just to make sure I'm okay. He and Sofia bring the children over every weekend, and we have the kind of family dinners I used to have with Carmen, full of laughter and love and genuine affection. Last Sunday, while we were eating lunch on the patio, Roberto's daughter asked me why Carmen doesn't come to visit anymore. Sometimes adults have disagreements, mija, but that doesn't mean we stop loving each other. Do you still love Tia Carmen? The question caught me off guard. Do I still love Carmen? The answer is complicated. I love the little girl she used to be. I love the memory of teaching her to make tamales, of braiding her hair before school, of watching her face light up on Christmas morning. I love the daughter I thought I was raising, the one who would grow up to be kind and generous and grateful for the sacrifices her parents made.
But what about David's debt? Are they going to keep coming after me? Not if they're smart. Once they check the county records and confirm that you don't own this house, they'll realize that threatening you is pointless. Roberto had been quiet during my conversation with the police officer, but I could see him thinking. Sergeant Martinez, he said finally, is there any way to get a restraining order against these men? We'd need more specific information, names, addresses, the company they work for. But based on Mrs. Delgado's description, I suspect they're not going to be easy to track down officially. After the police officer left, Roberto and Sofia stayed for dinner. We tried to keep the conversation light for the sake of the children, but I could see the worry in their eyes. Tia, Sofia said as we were cleaning up, maybe you should come stay with us for a few days, just until this blows over. Absolutely not. I'm not going to be driven out of my own home by a couple of thugs. But what if they come back? Then I'll call the police again. Sofia, if I run away now, where does it end? Do I hide every time someone tries to intimidate me? Roberto nodded approvingly. She's right. Besides, running away won't solve the real problem. What's the real problem? Carmen and David. As long as they're desperate and looking for ways to pay off their debts, they're going to keep dragging Tia Rosa into their mess. That night, I barely slept. Every sound outside made me jump. A car door slamming, a dog barking, the wind rattling my windows. I kept thinking about Mr. Vincent's cold smile and Mr. Torres's threat about my roses. But I also thought about Miguel and what he would have done in this situation. He would have been scared too. Anyone with sense would be scared of men like that. But he wouldn't have run. He would have stood his ground, and protected what was his. The next morning, I was having coffee on my patio when my phone rang. It was Carmen. "Mom, we need to talk." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. I'm coming over." "Carmen, if you're planning to bring more threats or demands, don't bother." "Mom, please, this is serious. David's in real trouble, and now they're involving you. I never wanted that to happen." There was something in her voice I hadn't heard in months. Genuine fear, and maybe even regret. "Fine. Come over. But Carmen, if you try to manipulate me or pressure me into anything, this conversation is over." She arrived an hour later, alone. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes were wrinkled, and she had dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. "Carmen, I'm sorry about yesterday. I had no idea David had told those men about your house." "Didn't you? You've been pressuring me to sign it over for months. You brought a social worker here to intimidate me. Why wouldn't David think it was available?" Carmen sat down heavily in the chair across from me. "Because I never told him about the deed transfer. I was too embarrassed." "Embarrassed?" "Embarrassed that my own mother trusted my cousin more than she trusted me. Embarrassed that I'd pushed you so hard you felt like you had to protect yourself from your own daughter." I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation, but all I saw was exhaustion and shame. "Carmen, why didn't David come with you today?" "Because he's hiding. Those men you met yesterday, they're not the worst ones. David borrowed money from 3 different groups, and they're all getting impatient." "How much money are we talking about?" "Total? Almost $500,000. I felt dizzy. $500,000? Carmen, how did you let it get this bad?" "I didn't know. David kept telling me the business was just going through a rough patch, that the money was for inventory and equipment. I didn't know he was gambling with it." "Gambling?" Carmen started crying. Not the manipulative tears she'd used before, but the broken sobs of someone who'd lost everything. "He's been gambling online for years, Mom. Sports betting, poker, some kind of cryptocurrency thing I don't understand. Every time he lost money, he'd borrow more to try to win it back." "And you had no idea?" "I knew we were having money problems, but David always had an explanation. The business was slow, we had unexpected expenses, the economy was bad. I believed him because I wanted to believe him." I felt a familiar ache in my chest, the pain of watching someone you love make terrible choices. "Carmen, what do you want from me?" "I want you to know that I never meant for those men to threaten you. I want you to know that I'm sorry for everything I said and did over the past few months, and I want to ask you something, but I'm afraid you'll say no." "Ask me." "Can I bring the kids here for a few days, just until we figure out what to do? I'm scared to have them at home with these people looking for David." The request caught me completely off guard. After months of threats and manipulation, Carmen was asking me to protect her children. "Where's David now?" "I don't know. He left yesterday morning and hasn't come back. I think he's hiding somewhere, trying to figure out how to pay these people back." "And if he can't?" Carmen's voice dropped to a whisper. "I don't know, Mom. I'm scared they might hurt him or hurt us." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen in years. Vulnerability, fear, the realization that her actions had consequences she couldn't control. "Carmen, if I let you and the children stay here, there have to be rules." "Anything." "No more lies, no more manipulation,
No more trying to get me to sign papers or make financial decisions that benefit you. If you're here as my daughter asking for help, not as someone trying to take advantage of me. I understand.
And when this is over, we're going to have a long conversation about our relationship and how things are going to change going forward. Okay. And Carmen, the deed transfer stands. This house belongs to Roberto, and that's not changing no matter what happens with David's debts. She nodded, tears still streaming down her face. I know. And Mom, I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you protected yourself from me. That afternoon, Carmen brought the children over with 2 suitcases and a bag of toys. My grandchildren, Isabela, age 8, and Miguel, age 6, ran into my arms like they always did, innocent of the adult drama swirling around them. Abuela, are we having a sleepover? Yes, mija. A little vacation with Abuela. Can we make cookies? Of course we can. That evening, while the children watched cartoons in the living room, Carmen and I sat in the kitchen talking more honestly than we had in years. Mom, I know I don't deserve your help after everything I've done. Carmen, you're my daughter. That doesn't excuse your behavior, but it doesn't stop me from loving you either. I've been so stupid, so greedy. I got caught up in David's dreams of getting rich quick, and I forgot about everything you and Dad taught me about working hard and being grateful for what you have. Why did you change, mija? You used to be such a sweet, grateful child. Carmen was quiet for a long time. I think it started when I got my real estate license and started seeing how other people lived. These huge houses, expensive cars, designer clothes. I started feeling ashamed of where I came from. Ashamed of us? Ashamed of being poor. Ashamed of having parents who worked with their hands instead of sitting behind desks. Ashamed of living in a small house in an old neighborhood. Her words hurt, but I appreciated her honesty. Carmen, my father and I were never ashamed of our work or our life. We were proud of what we built together. I know that now. But back then, all I could see was what we didn't have. And when I married David, and he started making good money, I thought I could finally have the life I'd always wanted. And now? Now, I realize that the life I had growing up, with parents who loved me and worked hard and taught me right from wrong, was worth more than all the designer clothes and fancy restaurants in the world. We talked until almost midnight, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was talking to my real daughter instead of the stranger she'd become. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of children's laughter in my kitchen. Isabela was helping Carmen make pancakes, while little Miguel set the table with my good dishes. Abuela, Mama says we can stay here as long as we want. Well, we'll see about that, I said, ruffling her hair. But you're welcome here as long as you need to be. After breakfast, while the children played in the backyard, Carmen's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and went pale. It's David. Answer it. Mom, I need you to know that I'm not going back to him. Whatever he says, whatever promises he makes, I'm done. Are you sure? I'm sure. I can't live like this anymore, and I won't put my children through it. She answered the phone, and I could hear David's voice through the speaker. Frantic, desperate, making excuses and promises. David, stop! Carmen said firmly. I don't want to hear it anymore. But baby, I can fix this. I just need a little more time. You've had 2 years to fix this, and it's only gotten worse. Carmen, please. I love you.
I love our family. If you loved our family, you wouldn't have gambled away our future. I can get help. I can go to counseling. I can stop gambling. You should have thought about that before you borrowed money from dangerous people and used my mother's house as collateral without her permission. There was silence on the other end of the line. Carmen, where are you? Where are the kids? We're safe. That's all you need to know. Are you at your mother's house? Armand, those men know where she lives. You're putting her in danger. No, David. You put her in danger when you told them about her house. You put all of us in danger with your gambling. I can fix this. How? How are you going to fix $500,000 in debt? There was another silence. I don't know yet, but I'll figure something out. David, I want a divorce. The words hung in the air like smoke. Even I was surprised by how calmly she said them. Carmen, you don't mean that. I do mean it. I'm filing for divorce and I'm asking for full custody of the children. You can't do that. I can and I will. David, you're a gambling addict who's put our family in danger. No judge is going to give you custody. Carmen, please. Don't do this. We can work it out. No, we can't. It's over, David. Find a way to pay your debts that doesn't involve my family. She hung up the phone and immediately turned it off. How do you feel? Scared? Relieved? Free? She paused. Mom, I know I have no right to ask this, but can we stay here while I figure out what to do next? I'll get a job. I'll pay you rent. I'll help with everything around the house. Carmen, this will always be your home, but we need to talk about some practical things. Like what? Like the fact that those men might come back looking for David. Like the fact that you're going to need a lawyer for the divorce. Like the fact that you're going to need to rebuild your entire life from scratch. I know. And Mom, I want to do it the right way this time. The way you and Dad would have wanted me to do it. That afternoon, Roberto came over to check on us. He was surprised to see Carmen and the children there, but after I explained the situation, he was supportive. Tia, you did the right thing. Family helps family, even when family has made mistakes. Roberto, I want you to know that having Carmen here doesn't change anything about the house. The deed transfer stands. I know, Tia. And Carmen, I want you to know that I never wanted to come between you and your mother. I was just trying to protect her. Carmen looked at Roberto with tears in her eyes. Thank you for protecting her from me. I am ashamed that she needed protection from her own daughter, but I'm grateful that you were there when I wasn't. Over the next few weeks, Carmen threw herself into rebuilding her life. She got a job at a local real estate office, enrolled the children in the neighborhood school, and started divorce proceedings. She also started attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings, not because she was a gambler, but because she wanted to understand David's addiction and learn how to protect herself and the children from it. The dangerous men never came back. According to Sergeant Martinez, they'd checked the county records and confirmed that I didn't own the house. Without that asset to pursue, they'd apparently decided to focus their collection efforts elsewhere. David called several times, but Carmen refused to talk to him. Eventually, the call stopped. We heard through mutual friends that he'd left town, possibly to avoid his creditors. Carmen filed for divorce on grounds of abandonment and was granted full custody of the children. 6 months later, Carmen had saved enough money to rent a small apartment a few blocks away. But she asked if she could stay in my house a little longer. Mom, I know I need to be independent, but I like living here with you. The kids love having their abuela around every day, and honestly, I love it too. Would you consider letting us stay permanently? I could pay you rent, help with the mortgage and utilities. Carmen, there is no mortgage. I paid it off years ago. Then I could pay you rent and help with maintenance and utilities? I thought about it for a moment. The house had felt empty for so long after Miguel died. Having Carmen and the children there had brought it back to life.
What about Roberto? This is his house now. I already talked to him about it. He said it was your decision, but that he thought it was a great idea. And you understand that this doesn't change the deed situation. The house still belongs to Roberto. I understand. And Mom, I'm grateful for that. Knowing that the house is protected means I never have to worry about making the same mistakes again. I can't gamble away something that isn't mine to lose. So Carmen and the children stayed. We turned Miguel's old workshop into a bedroom for Isabela, and little Miguel got the room that used to be Carmen's when she was growing up. Carmen got a promotion at work and started taking night classes to get her broker's license. The children thrived in their new school and made friends in the neighborhood. On Sundays, Roberto and Sofia and their children come over for dinner, and we have the kind of family gatherings I'd always dreamed of, full of laughter and love and genuine affection. Carmen and Roberto have become close, bonded by their shared commitment to taking care of me and the family. Last month, on the anniversary of Miguel's death, Carmen and I visited his grave together. She brought flowers, roses from the garden he'd planted, and we stood there in comfortable silence for a while. "Mom," she said finally, "I want to thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up on me, for protecting yourself when I couldn't be trusted, for teaching me that love isn't about what you can get from someone, but what you're willing to give. Carmen, you're my daughter. I could never give up on you. Even when I was trying to steal your house, even then, I was protecting myself from your actions, not from you. There's a difference." We stood there for a few more minutes, and then Carmen said something that made my heart sing. "Mom, I want to be the kind of daughter Dad would have been proud of. I want to be the kind of mother you were to me, even when I didn't deserve it." "You already are, mija. You already are." Today, as I write this story, I'm sitting in my kitchen at the same table where Carmen once demanded that I sign over my house. But instead of anger and threats, this table now hosts homework sessions with my grandchildren, coffee conversations with my daughter, and Sunday dinners with the family that chose to love me unconditionally. Carmen was right about one thing. She said this house would be hers eventually anyway. And in a way, it is. Not because she manipulated or threatened or stole it, but because she earned her way back into it through honesty, hard work, and genuine love. The deed still belongs to Roberto, and it always will. But the home, the love, the laughter, the memories we're making every day, that belongs to all of us. Sometimes people ask me if I regret transferring the deed, if I wish I'd handled things differently with Carmen. The answer is no. Protecting my house from her greed was the best decision I ever made because it forced her to confront who she'd become and choose who she wanted to be. My daughter demanded that I sign over my house or else. She thought she held all the cards, thought she could manipulate and threaten her way to getting what she wanted. But what she didn't know was that I'd already outsmarted her months before she even made her first threat. Looking back, I realized this story isn't really about a house at all.
It's about the difference between love and possession, between family and blood relations, between protecting someone and enabling them. Carmen learned that you can't build a life on other people's sacrifices. Roberto learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is simply being trustworthy. And I learned that sometimes a mother's greatest act of love is refusing to be a victim of her child's greed. My house is still protected. My family is stronger than ever, and my conscience is clear. To anyone watching this who might be facing pressure from family members to sign over property or assets, trust your instincts. Get your own lawyer. Protect yourself first, because you can't help anyone if you've lost everything. And remember, real family doesn't threaten you, manipulate you, or try to steal from you. Real family loves you for who you are, not what you have. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. And let me know in the comments, have you ever had to protect yourself from your own family? I read every comment, and your stories matter. Until next time, remember that you have the right to protect what's yours, no matter who's trying to take it away.